So if you clicked on this video, it must mean that you just got yourself a new orbit and you're looking for a place to start. Well, look no further, because Star Fox Flow is the way to go. Hi, my name is Star Fox, and I've been orbiting for about 2 years now, and during that time I've had the pleasure of not only learning from others, but also passing down that knowledge to new orbiters such as yourself. And in this introductory video to my new orbit series here on YouTube, I'm going to be going over some basics like holding tension, liquids, basic arm wraps, shapes, as well as some things to look out for and expect when you're starting this orbiting journey. Lastly, I'll be throwing in a light show at the end using only the concepts that I'll teach you here today so that you can see what is achievable with what you just learned. The orbit I'll be using for this tutorial is the new WYLD Simplex 6 that I just did a review on, so go check that out after this video. Okay, let's start off with the most important thing about orbiting, which is tension. And so what tension is what makes the orbit spin back and forth. It's essentially winding itself up and then unwinding only to wind back the other way. So how to do this is get in a comfortable grip. I am using the 4-1 grip, which means I wrap once around my forefingers and then another time around my index finger. So there is 4 and 1. You can also use other grips like 2-2, which means 2 fingers wrapped twice, just like that. So if you don't have handles on your orbit yet, no worries. How you put it on is, I like to put it on my middle fingers and then find the comfortable grip for yourself. Once you've chosen your comfortable grip, you're going to start by spinning the orbit like so that it winds up. And once it's wound up enough, you're going to pull and release. Pull and release. Pull and release. Now in the beginning you can exaggerate this just to get used to the motion. But remember, it's a pull and push motion like a breath. So breathing is another term for this. So the breath of the orbit is a term used for how long or how fast it winds up and turns the other way. So something to expect when you are just starting out orbiting is that you're going to notice that your fingers are going to turn raw right here. But don't worry, that goes away after a couple weeks. Your skin gets used to it, you develop a callus, and you're fine. I like to think of that as a rite of passage, showing that you've been putting the time in the lab and practicing. I suggest practicing tension when you're doing other things like watching Netflix or watching YouTube. Once you no longer have to think about the breath, like you no longer have to think about breathing, you can move on to the next thing in this tutorial, which is called liquids. The liquid is one of the most basic short string concepts, and what it essentially is taking a lead hand, say my right hand is my lead hand in this example, and having your trail hand follow the pathway that your lead hand is drawing. So what that looks like is here. So both my hands are just drawing the same pathway, in this case a circle. Just keeping that orbit also within that circle that I am drawing. And that's how you liquid. Next on this tutorial, I'm going to teach you the basic arm wrap. And what it is essentially is connecting the orbit from point A to point B. In this case, my point A is going to be the top of my arm, and the point B is going to be the bottom of my arm. So let's see how that looks. A, B. So when you're just starting out, It's okay to exaggerate the motion if you want to move your arm this much just as you're getting used to it. But over time, as you learn to control your orbit more, the motion is going to be very minimal. As you see, my arm isn't doing much. It's almost like a hammer motion. You're going to want to learn this wrap on both sides. The transition is going to look like this, essentially. But to get the timing down of that transition, you can start by drawing 3 circles and then going into it, then another 3. Now once you get to the timing down from 3, you can go to 2. 1, 2. After that, you can go to 1, 1, 1. After that, you can just start bouncing between arms. So where you switch your arms is going to be right when the orbit hits the 12 o'clock point. That's when you can switch. So if I slow the motion down right here, you can see where the timing is. So when you're just learning wraps, you're going to expect to get a few battle scars and bruises from your orbit kind of smacking you. But once again, as you learn control and you get better, you're not going to bruise yourself as much because you're not going to be hitting yourself as hard with your orbits. Once again, I like to see it as another rite of passage, which means that you are dedicated enough to go through that. All right. Next is how to do shapes. So how shapes work is they build off of the concept of tension. So when you're spinning in a certain direction like this, you're going to spin until you feel all the tension build up. So once you feel all the tension building up, you're going to give it a pull. And what that's going to do is the orbit's going to counterspin while it's spinning this way, and that's what draws the shape.
So let me disarm you. There's an army I'm fighting around your heart. Let me disarm you. 'Cause baby, I just wanna love who you really are. Who you really are. So let me disarm you. There's an army I'm fighting around your heart. Let me disarm you. 'Cause baby, I just wanna love who you really are.
If you thought this tutorial was helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe, as I'll be uploading weekly orbit tutorials from beginner to advanced. Thank you once again for being such a good learner and trusting me to teach you how to orbit. My name is Star Fox. Love yourself, and the rest will flow.
I know somewhere we could get away. If you wanna find another place.